Mhm. Welcome to the November 22nd Rotary Club of Ames meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
The song.
One more song. Do you want
You ready for the song?
Well,
Not yet.
maybe not yet. Well, I don't know. Karen's got it on the slide. We're ready for it.
Okay, you
The
all know.
slide means the slide is in charge.
Pardon?
The slide takes over whatever the order is. So Karen is ready for the Rotary song.
All right, well, we're going to do the Rotary song, which you also all know, and so we'll do 2 verses of this one. Here is the introduction.
Thank you, Louie. Hey, holiday wreaths. Once again, great job with this fundraiser. And also thanks to everyone who volunteered to distribute these on Saturday, maybe a couple on Sunday too, but thank you so much. We really appreciate it. No club meeting next Monday. It's a day of service. And I just happen to be sitting next to Carrie at my table. So a great opportunity would be to sign up to ring bells this holiday season for the Salvation Army. And it is registertoring.com. So get a friend and just catch up while also ringing bells for the Salvation Army next week, or just set your alarm to sign up to do it on, not on Monday, but before Christmas. That's right. We will be presenting checks this meeting to our, just read them off and have people come up. Individually or all together? Perfect. So the Boys and Girls Club of Story County, and each group has $1,000 for the holiday food baskets. YSS, the Salvation Army. Come on up, come on up, come on down. Bridge Home. Friendship Arc. This one is addressed to Jennifer, so hey. Child Serve and Mainstream Living. Okay, and I will make sure you get these, Karen. Okay, we will, yes, we distribute these checks, but again, register to ring.com, set your schedule, set your alarm on Monday at noon to sign up to do that. And at this time, I will introduce John. Come on up. There you are. I was looking around like, where are you? All this stuff out of your way.
All right, good afternoon. Okay, today is, or this month is November, so that is Rotary Foundation month. And so what we have planned today is really focus on that topic. So I'll start off on a personal level and give you my Rotary moment, why I'm involved in Rotary, why I'm here speaking on behalf of the foundation. And then we'll talk a little bit about the foundation itself. For some of you, that will be review, but there's been a number of changes in the last couple of years, some effective at this year, and I'll try to point those out. And then we'll wrap up by recognizing a fairly significant number of our members with Paul Harris Fellows. As you probably heard, we haven't done this since the pandemic, so we have quite a backlog to honor here this afternoon. I want you to think back to last July when Kelsey took over as president in her first meeting. She issued a challenge to us. She challenged each of us to think who in our lives has inspired us to be part of Rotary, the service above self. And as I recall, in Kelsey's case, it was her maternal grandmother. In my case, it was my maternal grandfather. My grandfather lived with us for most of my youth. He had a small tool shop in Halber, which is a small town just outside of Carroll, Iowa. And in this tool shop, he repaired shoes, horse harnesses, and canvas. Canvas at that time was used by the local farmers to harvest their crops. I spent a lot of time in that tool shop with my grandfather, and back in the far back corner, there was an invoice register. And the way this would work is my grandfather would complete a repair job, fill out an invoice, and put the invoice in the invoice register. When the customer came in to pick up the item, he would pull that invoice, present it to the customer for payment. And that's normally how it worked, except when it didn't. Sometimes the customer would tell my grandfather they didn't have money to pay him. And so my grandfather would give them the repaired item and tell them to pay them or pay him when they could. Now, maybe it's an indication that why, someday I would study to be an accountant, but I was fascinated by that invoice register. I would look through it at all the old bills in there, and there'd be invoices there, not months, but years, in some cases over 5 years old. And there'd be multiple invoices for some of these customers. And I'd see these customers come back continually with more repair jobs and never pay my grandfather. So I asked my grandfather once, why don't you collect on these old bills? And why do you keep doing work for these people who don't pay you? And I can still see my grandfather's look on his face today. It was that look like, I just asked the dumbest question in the world. He explained to me that these people didn't have the money to buy new shoes, which is why they brought their shoes back continually to be repaired. He shared that the canvas needed to be repaired if these farmers were going to be able to harvest their crops in the fall, and that these people would pay him when they could. Now, I know what you're thinking. My grandfather wasn't a very good businessman, and certainly on some level I'd agree with you, but that's not the legacy that he left me. What I got out of that and how I thought of my grandfather is, this is a person that's not motivated by material gain. He got joy and got satisfaction just by using his skills to help a neighbor, a friend, someone in the community, and he didn't expect anything in return. Not once did I hear my grandfather complain or talk poorly about any of these customers that never paid him. It just wasn't important to him. And to me, that's what Rotary, service above self, is all about. It's about giving of your time, it's giving of your resources, and not expecting anything in return. Now, when I retired from Deere & Company, it's been 7 years ago now, and moved to Ames, I was looking for a way to get involved in the community. So I asked people as I met them. And I ran into Jerry Cloughlin at a women's basketball game. What an ambassador for Rotary. I mean, he told me I had to be part of the Rotary. Shortly after that, I was in a meeting with Roger Underwood, who I believe was a Rotarian either for this club or for the morning club many years back. And Roger's advice to me was, if you want to know what's going on in the community, you should join the noon Rotary. So based on their advice, I joined. But the reason I'm still part of Rotary 7 years later is because of my grandfather and the memories that I have of him, how he lived his life. And that's also why I'm here today to talk on behalf of the foundation. Thank you. So let's talk a little bit about the foundation. The first thing is the foundation doesn't stand by itself. It's part of a three-legged stool. It begins with the members. That's what Rotary is about. It's us as the members. The members contribute to the foundation. The foundation uses those contributions to fund great projects, great programs, such as the water project we have in Tanzania. That builds awareness and good publicity for Rotary. People see this, they want to be part of it, and so they join as members. So each leg supports the other. Now today, we're just going to focus on that one leg, the foundation. Everything about the foundation centers around its mission statement. And you can read it for yourself, but you can sum it up in 5 words: doing good in the world. Now, in my grandfather's case, it was doing good in the community, but as Rotarians, we have a much broader platform that we can operate from. And it delivers on that mission statement through a very defined model. It begins with support. There's a recognition piece. Donors can contribute to various funds based on their interests. And then that leads to these great projects, great programs, both locally and globally, that support good work around the world. So let's look at each of these. So let's start with support. And you can see that the sources of support comes from a number of places. You've got individuals, clubs, districts, non-Rotarians, such as Hy-Vee contributes to the Tanzania Water Project. Those in black are contributions that typically come out of estate planning. When the gifts are made, then there's a recognition piece, and there's a very defined recognition system within Rotary. The first 2 in yellow is the cornerstone of the foundation. As members, we're encouraged to be part of E-Rate. Every Rotarian, every year. Simply says we're asked to give something, any amount, to the annual fund every year and participate in a Rotary activity. In conjunction with that, we're encouraged to be sustaining members, and that's to give $100 to the annual fund in a Rotary year, which goes from July to June. That's all we're asked to do as Rotarians. Now, beyond that, there's other recognition levels. If a member contributes $1,000 outright, or it's accumulated over several years, then they are recognized with a Paul Harris Fellow. And it could be in any of 3 funds: annual fund, Polio Plus, or one of the approved grant. If with every additional $1,000 given, then there's additional levels of Paul Harris Fellow recognitions. If a member commits to give $1,000 a year to the foundation, they become part of the Paul Harris Society. And we have members part of the society in this club. Once a member has accumulated gifts of $10,000 or more, they move into the major donor category, and there's higher levels with that. And then on the far left there, you got the, or right, you got the benefactor and bequest society. Again, those typically are part of estate planning. Now, when a member gives a gift, they have a choice where they want to direct it to. And there's 5 funds that you can choose from. The top 3 are the most common. Last month, we talked about the Polio Plus Fund. Still a top priority within Rotary. Unfortunately, the work is not done. We just learned here just recently that there were 2 more wild polio cases identified in Afghanistan. 2 young children are paralyzed. And so we still got work to do there. On the right, you have the Endowment Fund, which is a permanent type fund. Only the earnings off that are used to support programs each year. And the fund that we're encouraged, and most of us give to, is the annual fund. It's the one that provides the most flexibility to Rotary to really develop and fund those programs and projects that are going to do good around the world. So let's say we give to the annual fund. Well, now you have choices again. You can give it to the World Fund and to support various international type of projects. You could give it to one of the 7 areas of focus. Maybe you have a passion for education, water, or maybe it's the environment. The one that we're encouraged to give to, and most give to, is to the Share Fund. Again, that's the one with the most flexibility. It's also the one that some of the dollars come back into our local communities. So let's use an example now. Let's say members of this club, as well as members from other clubs here in District 6000, give $100,000 to the annual Share Fund. What happens to that money? Well, first, it's invested and it sits there for 3 years. The interest off that is used to offset administrative costs in the foundation. And then after 3 years, it is distributed to the World Fund and goes back to the districts in the form of district designated dollars. That's how it used to work. As you know, interest rates haven't been all that good lately. And so those earnings aren't enough to offset all the administrative costs. So in a change that was made a couple of years ago, 5%, after 3 years, 5% of those funds are used to support administration. And then you have the distribution to the World Fund and to the back to the districts. So I'm going to stop here just a moment and talk about these administration funds. Just under 10% of the funds that the foundation takes in goes towards administration, and that's first class. When you think about nonprofits, anywhere from 25, 35% on average is used for administration. Now for foundations, it's usually typically less, but anything better than 15% is really quite good. Charity Navigator, which is an independent evaluator of nonprofits, has given the Rotary Foundation its highest ranking 13 years in a row because of its low administration costs and because of the transparency and accountability that exists as those dollars are distributed. So let's get back to our example. We've taken in $100,000. After 3 years, 5,000 has gone to administration. 47,500 has gone to the World Fund to support global grants. And then the other 47,500 has gone back to the district in the form of district designated dollars. What does a district do with these dollars? Well, half of it is used to fund global grants and various programs, scholarships, peace centers. They can contribute to the Polio Plus. Those that are the funds that are given to the global grants are then matched 80 cents to the dollar out of the World Fund. Now that's another change. It used to be 100% match, but because of the demand for these funds and a number of grants that are in place, they've reduced that down to 80% now. The other half is available for the district to use for community local type grants. Every club in District 6000 has the opportunity to send in a request for a grant up to $5,000 for some local purpose. It might be renovating a park, might be planting trees, might be hot showers for a homeless shelter. This club a few years back had a $5,000 grant approved for human trafficking. So these are the dollars that then can come back into our local communities. So let's kind of pull this all together then. It starts with support. Last year, the foundation received $440 million. As those gifts come in, there's a recognition. Donors are able to decide where they want those funds to go, an unrestricted fund like the annual fund, or maybe a restricted fund like Polio Plus or disaster recovery, or they could put it into a permanent fund such as the Endowment Fund. So that's the income side. Then you come down on the right-hand side here with the disbursements. They go both into the Rural Fund as well as back to the district. And then here is where you're funding all these projects. You've got local grants, global grants, Polio Plus, Peace Center, scholarships, all the programs that Rotary is involved in, and the beneficiaries are people around the world. So how has our club stacked up in terms of supporting the foundation? Well, since its inception, so 100 years now, over $1.2 million has been contributed to the foundation by club members of our club. So that's outstanding. I mean, we really benefit from the generosity of so many members even before us. In recent years, this club has contributed $20,000 to $30,000 to the annual fund. This year already, we're at just under $7,500. Polio Plus, in past years, this club's been at $10,000 a year. Last year, we were at $6,600. This year, we expect to be again around that $6,500 range. We've got about 2/3 of that raised. And then you have all the other funds. Last year, for example, in fiscal year 21, there was a significant gift given to the Endowment Fund. And you can see the support is broad-based in this club. Over on the left, you have the members. We have 168 members this year. In years past, we've had almost 100% participation in E-Ray, which means if the members gave some amount to the annual fund. This year already 139 members have done this. We have about 40% of our members in past years have given to or been sustaining members. So they've given $100 or more to the annual fund. Already 12 have done this. And then Paul Harris Society, those members giving $1,000 or more every year. We've been in that 7 to 9 range. 2 members already of this club have done that. And I'm sure by the end of the year, we'll be back up to that 7 to 9 range because many members give a certain amount every month. And so by the end of the year, they will have achieved that. So I'm going to just stop here for just a moment. I know Don's going to be leaving here fairly soon. So if there's any questions, we'll take them now, but I want to make sure we leave enough time. Well, I think we'll have plenty of time for taking questions here and still honor our Paul Harris Fellows. So I have rules around questions, by the way, if you haven't heard me speak. There are great questions. Those are the ones I know the answer for. There are good questions. Those are the ones I'm pretty sure I have the answer for. And there are bad questions. Those are the ones I don't know how to answer. Now, if you have a bad question, ask it, because I have a friend out here in the audience, Don Goring, who is the club's expert on the foundation. And I will just redirect your bad question to him. And then if he can't answer it, it's probably never been asked. But we'll promise you we'll get the answer and get it back to you. So does anyone have any questions at this point before we move on and recognize some of our members of Paul Harris Fellows? Yeah. Well, the question was, is last year because, or the comment question was because last year, the pandemic, we did not do the community grants. And has the board decided this year whether they're going to do it? That's a bad question. I don't know the answer to that. And Karen's back there giving me the thumbs up. So yes, the board has decided to do it. Any other questions? Oh, sorry. I like bragging about the human trafficking grant that we had. It's probably been 3 years ago now. I mean, I think it just really hit a spot in our community that probably wasn't that well recognized, but it raised it to a level of awareness that I think not only in our club, but actually in the community, it's having an impact. So to me, that's one. Other members, may have their others. Any other questions? Okay, we're going to forge ahead. And what we're going to do here is, it should be on that same slide deck, I believe, Karen. But what we'll do is we'll put up a slide for each of the Paul Harris levels. If your name is on the chart, we'd ask you to come up, accept your pin, and then also there's an extra treat that you'll be able to get your photo taken with Kelsey. So first, we have 3 of our members that are receiving their first Paul Harris Fellow. So if you would come up, or any of them here. Kim Barrett, Jeff Harris, or Jason Rezimer. Okay. We have a handful of members here receiving their Paul Harris +1. So these are individuals that have given $2,000 or more to to the club, if you would come up. Mark Endelman, Pam Elliott Kane, Mike Epicett, Kirk Friedrich, Steve Goodhue, Steve Jones, Olivia Madison, Margie Oathoff, and Jim Rock. Come up here and get your pen. I think it was Johnny Orr that said that the joy of we're gonna have a lot of pins left over here. Thank you and congratulations. I think Johnny Orr said that he loved coaching except for the game. So I love this part except pronouncing the names. Okay, we have the Paul Harris Fellows +2. Again, a handful. George Belitsos, Chad Copley. Oh, here's an easy name. John Dalhoff, Ron Hallenbeck, Jerry Jones, Paul Livingston, Frank Uphold, Amy Roscoe Nelson, Keith Wiggum, and Barbara Woods. And yeah, okay, we have some Paul Harris +3s. Matt Converse, Carol Custer, Frank Philmeyer, Gene Cressy, Randy Peters, and Mary Wells. Oh, we got a good contingent here. Congratulations. Paul Harris Fellows +4. Ronnie Friedrich, Lee Kilmer, and Doug Timmons. Knew I need to get Doug's name right. He's my neighbor. Paul Harris Fellow +5. So these individuals have $6,000 or more. Brian Dieter, Stu Melvin, and Cliff Smith. We have two members at Paul Harris Fellows +6, Jim Black and Max Porter. Congratulations. And finally, we have a Paul Harris Fellow +8, Monica Porter. Hanukkah is a former foundation chair for this club, so not only has she given her time, but as you can see, also has financially supported the foundation. So congratulations to her. So I think what we just saw here by the names up there, the tremendous generosity that this club has, not only for the foundation, but for like the wreaths and all the other things that have come before us. You know, when there's a need, this club has always stood up, and I really appreciate that. And I think you should all give yourself a hand for how you have supported the foundation over the years. Are there any questions before I turn it back over to Kelsey? Thank you.
With it being a holiday week, it looks like we're gonna get out of here just a little early. So, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Please stand for the four-way test. Four-way test of the things we do and say. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you.